Hello, all of you. Thank you for joining the live session. We have around 9 participants now, and we would like to sort of, start with some of the, questions which some of the earlier participants had sent online. Uh, in fact, there's an interesting question to begin with. The first question is, like, how do we achieve energy swaraj? That's a $1 billion question. We are, if you look at the country, our country has enormous natural resources. So I think if you're a little bit more sensitive on how we can sort of use these natural resources, both the light, the solar energy, the water resources, I think we will do much, much better. But unfortunately, because of, again, industrialization and because of the type of habit formation, we get used to a particular type of energy, and that becomes very, very inefficient. Like the electrical power, today, you use, that very inefficiently. That's what Professor Chetan Solanki is talking about, of how you can come out of it, because technology now provides you phenomenal solutions which can make it very, very cost effective. We're all seeing within our, a couple of years, how LEDs have taken over the complete sort of lighting, and then because of very less power consumption, you're able to do so much better. So, good afternoon, all of you. Subhashish Das, Namrata Tripathi, and Ashish Rai. Good afternoon to all of you. And that's the first question. So let me see if I have another question here. So in fact, like a lot of my students also ask this question of whether how this course, you know, will benefit, and what's the use of this course. It's a very interesting question. Actually, this whole thing, goes sort of little bit, little bit to the to how we started this course. The course is actually called Design Technology Innovation, and this is part of the Bachelor of Design program at IIT Bombay. The BDES we call. This is a new program. This is 6 years old. So in this program, we sort of have to showcase to the design students, the all the aspects of how the combination of design and technology lead to innovation. So that is the whole idea, and and we need to also showcase some case studies. So we took this very interesting journey of getting the best professors from all over the country, from other IITs and IIMs, to take these things forward, and that's how this course has come up. So now that from point of the tangible learning, you need to make your own notes on what all the design professors or the engineering professors or the management professors worked on, to understand how they went about in their innovation process. Let us just take the example of Professor Chetan Solanki. He's the like one of the senior most researchers in the area of solar cells and solar energy, and you saw the product. The product can be assembled and rigged by a third class student, third, fourth, fifth, any small boy. Thousands of these batteries are available, thousands of these lights are available on the roadsides at 40 rupees, 50 rupees. But if you can go deep into this course, you'll understand it's not about cost, it's not about availability, it's not about the level of technology, it's about how will you make the complete management strategy, how will you make the complete management of the innovation, so that the person who's got the need can get the benefit from this sort of from this technology or whatever it is. So that is the very important aspect in this. And for example, people are still using kerosene lamps in the villages. Kids are still studying under kerosene lamp. So your mandate is to eradicate that aspect of people not using kerosene lamp and using an LED lamp. So for that, what will you do? And the whole lecture, showed how they went about doing it. And they used the best of technologies, best of industrial engineering, best of professors. We didn't, highlight. We have professors from battery technology with us in that team. We have professors from design, which I was involved in the design part. There are professors from industrial engineering. There are professors from rural development. Professor Narayan, we did talk about it. So using all our research trends and understanding to make a difference to the last student who's using a kerosene lamp to study and make his situation better. So that's the whole beauty about this thing. So we have a lot of good afternoons here. Ujjwal, Apar, Shubham, Pratyay, Samir. Good afternoon to all of you. Welcome to the live session. And I'm taking up some questions which are already posted. How can this be helpful? How can this course be helpful for our skills? This course is specifically addressing your knowledge aspect, making you understand the various nuances of design, the nuances of technology, and the nuances of innovation. So basically, this will really sort of make you understand all these nuances, and you have to build your skill sets with these nuances by actually leapfrogging and jumping into that whole domain and working towards the innovation. So there was some noise from the air conditioner, so I just switched off the air conditioner for you. So that's the whole idea of how we went about doing this. So do you have any questions? Participants, you're welcome to post your questions. You can type the questions. And Prateek and Abhijit also has joined us. Vaid Prakash has joined us. Samir Gupta has joined us. Good afternoon to all of you. So please post your questions. I have one question over here which I'll read up. So basically, the question is that because of the financial constraints, your idea or your product could not reach the market. So how can the person share his knowledge with others? In fact, today, thanks to YouTube, thanks to sort of internet, you must document your learnings, and you must also see whether you can join any incubator. See, if you're very passionate about your design idea, you need to join an incubator, become an entrepreneur, and see to it that the idea sees the light of the day, and that will be the key thing for you, and that is the question. In fact, Ashil Peter is asking a very, very good question. How can we work with the research team of IIT Bombay? So, Ashil, the professors actually do research in their areas of interest. You must sort of check each professor's areas of interest. And when your area of interest matches with the professor's area of interest, you can write an email to the professor. The professors will be more than keen to join hands and work with you. For example, we have a professor from physics, Professor Kundu, and currently he is our dean of students, and he works in this phenomenal technology of physics. And he actually works out with lasers, and then he's come up with a new method of sensing humidity in the soil. So there's a manufacturer who came to him and said, so there's a very important aspect, because if you can know the humidity in the soil, you can actually give you can give right amount of water to the soil. Today, for example, most of the agricultural fields are overfed with water. The plants don't need that much water. So just pour water and water without knowing how much water is needed. So if you can have a humidity sensor, that can happen. So now that product is in the market. In fact, similarly, there are other professors in electrical engineering who have different type of humidity measurement through sensors. So we have, like as I was telling you, so these you have to match your research interests, and then you can always, write an email to the professors, and I'm sure they will be like to support, and take things forward. Let me see the next question. Shubham is asking that the course is about case studies, but they're getting questions on the case study elements, whether you remember or not. Very interesting question, Shubham. We would we would like you to be like, because it's MSQs and MCQs, we want to see also how attentive you are in listening to the lectures. That's the reason we are asking the questions of the elements. Maybe we'll improve in the next module and see to it that we ask you some very generic questions, which will motivate you to understand the nuances of the case study rather than just remembering the points in the case study. Thank you. It's a very good suggestion, Shubham, and we'll surely try to improve on this. But we cannot do an assignment based on learning of the project or say the application of these learnings from case study. Like again, Shubham, these case studies have happened over years. For example, if you've seen the TKP, it took 9 years to do these case studies. It's not been easy. So we are showcasing you the total journey, and this course is about knowledge. It's a theory-based course. It tells you how innovation goes through, how design goes through, how technology goes through. So that is the limitation of this course. We don't have the project component in this course. Subhash is asking what are the things you must keep in mind before venturing on to design a solution from scratch. In fact, Subhashish, very, very important. Most of the sort of professors who came up in your lectures, as well as, my own experience, the more and more you are in touch with the user community, you will be able to come up with better solutions. Today, for example, you will be able to, the next week, you will be having Professor Anil Gupta's lecture on grassroots innovation. And you'll see how it's very critical to connect with the user. And that will be the best way to start and ideate and make things happen. Uj, Ujwal, no? Ujwala Bharadwaj is asked this question. That took 9 to 10 years to design this letterbox. Actually, all government projects are not like that, Ujjwala. This was like a self-initiated project, so we kept on going at it. 1 year we worked on our own. So, the projects are necessarily don't take so long. In fact, the police stick, we designed a seat for a police stick that, that could be done very fast, 6 months. It totally depends upon the type of project and the type of, interest. If the government of India initiates a project, it can be very quick. This sometimes we initiate a project and then we have to take a longer journey. So the projects can range from 1 to 10 years. It's completely open. Abhijit, this course specifically, doesn't talk about the intuitive aspects of design. See, design also is very systematic. It is, of course, there's a lot of intuition in design, but you have to we teach the systematic design process to students. The One of my other courses, which is innovation by design, talks about the design process in a little bit more detail. So you could look at that on NPTEL. It's available openly without any passwords. It's also available on SWIME on you know AICTE as a self-paced course. So you can see that innovation by design course to see the nuances of the design process, and you have to sort of jump in, like you have to, when you jump into water and you learn swimming, it's like jumping into the level of work and creating and learning while you go forward. And like it's not, you said that design innovation is very intuitive. It's not, you know people have design and intuition traits, but it doesn't it it's not necessarily intuitive. It's, of course, a lot of intuition is there, a lot of common sense is there, but design is also a systematic process because you're having to deal with large number of users, you're dealing with large number of manufacturers, a lot of money is involved, so hence you have to go through a systematic process so that there is some type of success in the development. And intuition happens only for hobbies, but whereas design, I feel, of course, has to go through a systematic process. Ashish is asking a very, very beautiful question. He's saying, So can we not have a design completely mimic nature, biomimicry, rather than and be very sustainable? Very very good question, Ashish. I think the Chetan's lecture, Professor Chetan Solanki's lecture also says that we need to really be very very sensitive to this, and nature is such a great designer that we we to sort of to go we need to go in line with nature, and then whatever we design, if we design using sustainable materials, are of course going to be very very good. And I think we need to get in there, and we're doing baby steps. I must say, in this area we must really put in more effort. I personally feel a lot of effort is needed in doing these things. In fact, there's one question which is saying, how can an innovation concept be converted to real product at individual level? At individual level, if you want to take your concept to a real product, the only method is to go through the entrepreneurship route, because your idea is very dear to you. You have to put in all your efforts for your idea, and most of the entrepreneurs who are successful tell tell you the stories of how they went about making their idea come true, and it's always a very very uphill task. I will tell you about a very interesting product, which is the BLDC fan, which uses very little power. The new the company's name is Atomberg. They're an IIT Bombay alumnus. These are our students who developed this fan, which uses very little power, and and now it's very very popular. It's already a 50 crore company, and they started small. They started with two people, and today, for example, they've hired one of my students in their company to do design. So I'm just telling you that that's the level of involvement the entrepreneur should have. And of course, you can join incubators across the country. Today, government is doing a lot of sponsorship for incubators, where you can start new companies. And to start a company, you need to have you need to have an innovation with you. So that's very critical. So you do all your groundwork, get your prototype ready, get your little bit of pilot production if you can, and then incubate a company. Then that'll go a long way. In fact, we have, I think, cleared till 4 weeks now are over now, and again, Ashish is asking, how can you get a patent for design? Lot of patent attorneys are there, Ashish, in the country. It doesn't cost much, but you should look for a patent only when you are sort of advanced stage of your work. In fact, I must advise all my listeners. I think we have 25 of you who are right now online. There is something called Google Patents. Just open. There are a lot of free resources, and you put in the right keywords, and you will see so many ideas. In fact, now I'm telling my students, please look for the similar ideas. See what type of people are making ideas, so they can become very creative. You can source some of the ideas, take inspiration from the ideas already available on Google Patents, and take things forward. So patenting is very good. At the same time, looking at all the patents available in the field also is a very very important aspect. Subhashish, that's a very good question. In fact, the helmet question, there's a dual, there's a double shell helmet, and where was the strap attached? In fact, till the prototypes and the mock-ups, the strap was attached to the top. The strap was coming from the top, so that when I buckle, my top is held strong, and this part is actually sort of available. That was our concept. Then what happened when we started developing, when we did the product development and moved from mock-up and to prototype, then we realized that the top shell is actually locked into the inner shell, so it doesn't need to be held. And then if the strap comes through the thermocol, there was a lot of problem. So then we finally, the final product, the strap comes from the side and it buckles. So it's not coming from the top. But in the middle development, the strap came from the top. You're right that we are going to give you, in the right answer was upper, as you rightly said. We are going to correct that. My TA Ashwati did tell me about this problem. We're going to solve it. In fact, uh, we'll correct that thing. That was my mistake of the question. So basically, the strap is connected to the load, and only in the mock-up and the designs. For example, in one of the cases, you've seen a white helmet. He was wearing one of my designers, Aniket, was wearing that, and I was next to that in the video where you will see in that the strap was attached on the top, whereas the final one was on the bottom. So we'll correct it. So please post your questions so that I can, tell you how things are moving. I think you have some very very exciting, lectures coming up after this. There is the last lecture is by Professor Madhusudan, who is also the head of the Design Innovation Center as well as the department head of IIT Delhi. He's talking about this fabulous cane for the blind, which also can sense something which is on the upper parts. Like if a branch is there, the cane will sense. Because cane is always take sensing the base. So now this cane can sense through vibration some of the obstacles which can hurt the blind people. And again, phenomenal innovation. And in the market, there are 2, 3 products in the same range, not successful. So what makes a product successful? That is the critical aspect, and we have to learn. And that's the last lecture. Will come on the last week, and that's my most favorite lecture out of this whole course. And where it assimilates all aspects of design, technology, and human and innovation, and how things can move forward. And that's they've sold 10,000 pieces already all over the world. That's the best part. In fact, Ajinkya, you're very right. We want to use the SWAYAM platform, the NPTEL platform, to deliver lectures, in tier 2 cities. That's our endeavor. See, most of our lectures are available, free. You can download them, you can use them in your classes and make effective use. And that's our endeavor, and we're trying our level best. In fact, yesterday only we had a very large meeting on starting a center for education, an excellence center for excellence in education, which is separately dedicated for that activity, so that the best professors can teach all the people in the country. And today, because of internet connectivity, we are in very good shape from point of view of networking. In fact, Shubhashish Das is asking us, how can we identify a design problem? In fact, that's a very, very, very interesting question. In fact, see, you have to really feel that that's what is the cause. I call it the Chakku 7 concerns of innovation. You have to feel the concern for the problem, and that problem could be anything. It could be like a simple problem where elderly are not able to open the jar, for example, of a jam bottle. So how will you solve that problem? And there are 20 products, rubber product, opening product, so many products available in the market. So that's how we need to identify. We have to observe, we have to scout, and then we can get to problems. Let me also announce you the other course, which is called Understanding Design. It's also available on SWAYAM on a self-paced mode. See, the self-paced mode means you can do the course at your will. You can see all the lectures whenever you want. So it's open on self-paced. So innovation with design and understanding design both are available self-paced, and there is, I have a couple of lectures there too, along with my colleague Professor Nina Sabnani. So please have a look at that course too. Shubham, I didn't understand your question. Time consuming for an architecture, what type of time it consumes in architecture design. So you want to reduce the time for design? Can you please be very clear? In fact, Yash, innovation is a multidisciplinary activity. We can't say in which domain it's happening. It's happening everywhere, and it always transcends disciplines. It creates new disciplines. Sometimes you didn't even imagine that such a discipline exists. So innovation is always like that. It transcends disciplines. You may take up a nice user idea. For example, like you can for example, this cane, the blind cane which I talked about, Professor Madhusudan's design, the sensing through the technology was available for so many years. How do you assimilate the technology to use it in the cane was the beauty of the design. So that so basically you need to be you know very clear. There's no specific discipline which is going high end, but I can tell you that from earlier questions people are talking about sustainable design. I feel more and more it's our responsibility to do sustainable design in future, where we use less and less resources from the nature. We make products more and more efficient and more carbon neutral, so that we can have a much better and green planet. In fact, Ashish is asking another very good question. He's asking, for the end exam, am I going to test your memory or am I going to test your learning? I would like to test your learning, Ashish. So let me see. I'm building the question paper now, and it's going to be very very difficult. So I'm having maybe 50% will test your memory, whether you've seen the video or not, and maybe 50% will test your understanding of whether you understood the problem or not. So let me see. We are just on the job of creating the question paper for the end exam. It's a very simple thing. From each module, you will get around 4 to 5 questions. Totally, you have 50 questions. So two sets. So 50 questions you will have to answer. It's very going to be very simple, and like I think you do well. I'll not test your memory too much, but I will try to see whether we can make sort of questions which will test whether you understood the sequence of operations, whether you understood the nuances of the design, innovation, and technology. We'll try to improve our questions a little bit. The building questions is extremely difficult process in these courses. And we are working on this with my teaching students. So we have around 24 participants now. I think we have no more questions coming in, and please, we like to have some feedback from you. We're very sorry that our discussion forum, we're not very active. We like to be more active ourselves on the discussion forum. That'll be a good place for us to understand the learning and the nuances, and and Ujwala, right? Ujwal Bharadwaj is asking again whether electronic pill dispensers. Wow, that's a very good question, Ujwala. We actually designed a pill. Every semester we design a pill dispenser, and they're from different ranges. In fact, one pill dispenser we designed, which was a very straightforward file folder. I think I'll be having in my room somewhere here. Let me see. No, no. So this pill dispenser, in fact, it was I couldn't find it. This pill dispenser was basically a simple sort of folder which had timestamps. So it will have a ziplock, not a ziplock, a plastic lock, so you can open. You remember, and there was a little sort of what do you call? Spacer, so where you can put it, so that if you're taking the pill in the morning, you put that spacer after taking the pill, so you know that morning is over, then you took the next one. So very simple design to very complex designs you can make. And you're talking about electronic designs, of course you can do all this thing, and there's so much market for the pills, for sure. So I would most of these lectures, again from your end exam point of view, most of the lectures are sort of very very loaded. So please go through a couple of times at least, all the videos, so that you are, really, you understand most of the things quite effectively. Also, while you're going, if you don't understand any part of the lecture, please, go online and check and get the answers for those lectures, the materials. Sometimes we don't understand materials. Sometimes we may not understand the manufacturing processes. You can always Google and get those manufacturing process. But I will surely advise you to look at the other two courses, the innovation by design and the understanding design courses. And we have talked about sustainability in that. We talked about design and industry in that. We also talked about the one very interesting design I did, which was the palki for Vaishno Devi, and that is now 100 palkis are flying in Vaishno Devi, and that also is available there in the under innovation by design, as well as understanding design course. So again, how to practice sketching. So sketching is a very very important component of design. The practice can happen through live sketching, which which we call object sketching. Keep an object in the front and start sketching. There's a very good book called like Sketching from the Right Hand Side of the Brain by Betty Edwards, Betty Edwards, Edwards. She has she's a lot of tricks on how you can learn sketching. But the basic nuances are that constant practice, look for sketching cues, look for the detail in the eye, and like the constant practice can improve sketching ability. And unfortunately, because most of the exams are very competitive, we end up in the MDes entrance, we end up giving marks to good sketching ability also, because sketching ability makes you very creative, and in the design program, we want students to be creative in their endeavor. So thank you so much for being with us. So wish you all the best. We still have one more question. Shubhashish Dash, what does a first prototype contain? So you know the first prototype will be the one where you can use the product. It will contain all the materials, all the parts for the design, and you will get if you want to see more of these, you can see, for example, the helmet design which I showed. The first prototype was actually usable. You could you could wear it and use it. So the first prototype will have materials which can need not be the same material which your mass manufacturing can have, but it will have materials which are similar to mass manufacturing, but will do the job, because for mass manufacturing you need tooling, but for making prototype I may have to use special machines to make it. So that's the reason the things are very different. In fact, Akshar Patel is asking, how do you evaluate sketches for entrance exams to MDes? Very good question, Akshar. So what we do is, we have a couple of professors. I don't know whether I'm allowed to talk, but we have at least 2 to 3 professors who actually blind review the sketch. From the question point of view, they see whether the intention was good, and if the intention was there, has the replication good. So there are like three, 4 parameters to consider, and then they are given marks. So we do a very rigorous process of marking. Hruday is asking whether I'm a mechanical engineer and I want to do design. Self-learn become design. So it's of course possible to self-learn. For example, see, so many products are in the market. Do you think they are all been designed by designers? No. A lot of products, 99% of the products are done by various people. Design is a systematic way of doing design process. For large companies which can't afford to make any mistakes. So that's why they employ designers and other teams of members. So you can actually learn design thanks to the online resources now, thanks to the design methodology books available. In fact, if you can see some of our courses from innovation by design and design technology innovation, you have all the steps to be followed. You can go to local manufacturers, local prototype manufacturers to get your things done. You of course need like money to get prototyping done. You need to look for all those things, and I think you can surely try and start learning. For example, most of the people who learn swimming learn on their own. They don't, for example, hire a swimming coach, for example. And it's not that not their technique may not be very you know clean, but they swim. So and some of them can become world class swimmers later on once they learn the right technique. But you can surely learn product design that way. Oh, there are huge number of courses on sketching online. Offhand, I want to tell you, when I was when I visiting Virginia Tech once, I was in the US. He was using online resource in the class for teaching sketching. The professor, he was not talking. He was showing an online resource of how to sketch. There's some fabulous online resources. Just Google, get your online resources, step by step process, one by one stall. For example, we have a wonderful resource called DSource of IIT Bombay, IDC. My colleague Professor Ravi Poya, got a lot of professors to upload things. And for animation, how to make sketches for animation, there are a lot of very interesting videos there on dsource.in, dsource.in. So there is, but there are international, lot of resources on how to sketch. The whole internet is full of that. In fact, Ujjwal Bharadwaj again asking about Tata Nano. See, Tata Nano, you know, from a user point of view, I call it still a great innovation. I'm a user of Tata Nano and I use it for 5 years. Fabulous. Extremely happy with the car. The company didn't make much money. That's why they had to stop production. That's another story. But I call it innovation because it reached mass scale. It delighted the users. And that's what is my definition for innovation. Whether the company went bankrupt or whether I didn't talk about it. In a company's perspective, sometimes they say that innovation should get you, coffers full. That's another story. But here, for example, my first priority is to delight the users, and if that has happened, you know, the Tata Nano story is surely innovation story. Yeah. So okay. So I think we have come to nearly the last question, and wish you all the best. Be very careful with the corona virus problem. In fact, I am on a self quarantine at my home. This shooting from the home, thanks to our NPTEL team from IIT Bombay. They came home and established the connection here for getting everything done. And and my son just flew in from USA yesterday night. So I put a self quarantine on myself so that uh, uh, we don't spread this in case my son gets in case he contacted any virus on the flight. But he's also safe, and please all of you, please take care. In fact, Akshar is asking how much line quality is important. Line quality is very important in sketching, Akshar. You have to use the right type of pencils, right type of pressure, and when you become an expert sketching person, your line quality will depend upon the type of hand you get, and there is no substitute for constant sketching to get the right line quality. And and wish you all the best, and please be safe, and take care. And the whole WhatsApp groups are giving you all the guidelines to be careful with the virus. And I was at the airport yesterday night, so I didn't touch anything, and I was just standing, and the virus can't do anything to you if you don't touch anything. So because so you please be careful, and take care. And thank you so much and all the best.